Hi everyone, and welcome to the Vookcast, Australia's Nintendo podcast. My name's Angelo Valdivia, and with me this week are Oliver Brandt.
G'day, folks.
Luke Henderson.
Howdy.
And Daniel Worthington.
Greetings and salutations.
We've got a great episode lined up for you this week, all about a surprising Pokemon card making a return after almost 2 decades, another Mario game biting the dust on March 31 next year, an Immortals Fenyx Rising discussion, and also a new game segment we've got at the tail end of the show. But let's kick things off with Nintendo's new firmware version 11. So, 2 particularly interesting functions have been released with the new firmware version that came out. Was it last week or the week before?
Last week.
Last week. The first one we want to talk about, though, is the being able to transfer screenshots to phones, PCs, and laptops. Now, I haven't personally had a chance to try this yet, but Luke, you said that you've tried it a couple of times. So do you want to walk us through the processes of doing it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll explain in case people aren't aware of how you used to do it. Previously, you either had to upload 4 photos to social media, or you had to power the switch off, remove the SD card, put it in a computer, transfer them manually. So regardless of which way you went, it was a bit cumbersome. The new methods, there's 2. One allows you to do direct through a computer, and the other one allows you to do it straight to your smartphone or smart device. To the computer is pretty straightforward. You plug it in the settings. You go in. It's a bit of a weird thing to locate in the settings. There's an option for it, but once you turn it on, your switch basically becomes like an external drive that your computer will just recognize, and then you're allowed to see all your photos or screenshots. The big thing for this, though, is it actually sorts them by game, whereas if you're just copying them manually through the SD card, it just numbers them and dumps them in a folder. So you have folder 11 for November, whereas now it goes, oh, Immortals Fenyx Rising, these are all the screenshots you've taken for that game. So that's the one way. The other way is through a phone, where you tell on the Switch that's what you're going to do. It creates a QR code, you scan it on the phone, and it basically turns your Switch into its own little Wi-Fi hub that your phone connects to, and then you transfer the photos and save them to your device. Probably not the most straightforward way they could have done that, but it does work. And it does alleviate the limitation of 4, or the having to power the entire Switch down to get them off in bulk. So
it's pretty easy to do then? It's pretty straightforward?
The computer way is definitely easy. You literally just plug it into a computer with a cable. Again, the setting, like the option in the settings to go turn it on is a little hidden, but once you know where it is, you jump in, turn it on, and it's done.
Cool. And we do have an article on the site to walk you through that if that's something that you need some help with as well. But so it's great for screenshots, but can you transfer over like those 30-second gameplay recordings?
You can, yeah. And that's both over the phone, and connected by USB, which is like super useful, for us basically, as you know, people who review a lot of stuff. Like I would love to include like short gameplay clips as like a GIF in a review, for example, but it's always super inconvenient to do it, because my options are to take out the SD card and then find it in this gigantic list, or record it on my capture card of the playback, and it's like neither of those options are really great. So just being able to like quickly have a snapshot, save that last 30 seconds, and then
move on with your life.
Move on with my life is fantastic. Yeah, I will say, a lot of people are saying like, why is it doing this like direct connection between the phone and the Switch? Like, why isn't it using the internet or going through like the Nintendo Switch Online app or whatever? Vook actually had like a sort of great post about this, that like the QR code method, and like it doesn't have to use a QR code. Like if your device doesn't have a camera, it does give you like the Wi-Fi login settings as well. But like it's completely device agnostic. It doesn't, if you have an Android phone, an iPhone, if you're still using a Windows phone for some reason, like it's still going to work. And in 20, 30, 50 years, when Nintendo Switch Online is well and truly dead and the Switch is no longer getting support, you'll still be able to use that method to get screenshots off your device in a really easy way. So it's not the most convenient way of doing it, but it's the one that is really going to work for the most people.
Great. That's fantastic.
Also, it's, when you transfer it to your phone, it's easier to type and post stuff out on your phone as opposed to using the digital keyboard.
It also gives
you can
more
use
options.
the full 200 characters, whatever it is, for Twitter now, not just the...
But it gives you more options as well, because if you're doing it from the Switch, you get, Facebook and Twitter are the only two social medias.
Yeah.
Whereas on the phone, you can do to WhatsApp or Snapchat or Instagram, whatever particular
Zack
social
Snyder
media
can
platform.
upload them to Vero.
Yes, but whatever platform you use on your phone, or whatever method you want to use, there's no limitation there. So you're removing an unnecessary restriction as well on social media requirement. So, which is also nice.
Yeah, that's great. Another great feature is the new home screen icon. At least I think is a great feature. The new NSO home screen icon that leads straight to the Nintendo Switch Online hub. Now, I'll admit, at first I saw this and I'm like, this is dumb. Why do we need this? This is just going to take you to another place where Nintendo's just going to try and force cash out of you or whatever. But then after visiting it, I actually found that this was actually quite a useful little shortcut. That's available to us now. So the icon itself is a little bit obnoxious, I think. I have my Switch in dark mode, so all of my icons are, all the system-related icons are all black, and then you just got this one bright red Coca-Cola looking thing there for some reason. But the hub itself, is actually quite useful. So it's broken up into 5-ish kind of seconds. There's a home screen. There's an online play section, which gives you a list of all the different Nintendo Switch Online games that require, NSO to be able to play them online. It takes you straight to the NES and Super NES library, so you can just check out everything, and it's got them all. You can have them organized by date, so you can see, what are the earliest ones listed or something like that. There's a section there to take you straight to your save data that's saved in the cloud. So again, you can just fly through, just have a look at what's up there, rather than having to go through the system settings and all that kind of junk. And then there's also an exclusive offers for members page. So, discounts, timed exclusives, all that kind of stuff. So I think that's actually quite a useful little feature there to have. Kind of segregates that whole section there out of the eShop. But I think it's still available within the eShop as well, but just not in the same.
It is, yeah.
It just makes everything
maybe
a lot easier.
Yeah, a little easier to organize anything. How do you guys feel about this? Like I said, I'm quite excited by this. I think it's quite useful, even just to see what NES and Super NES games are in there.
I'm with you. I love the app. I hate the icon.
Yeah, it's a bit doggy.
Yeah,
I mean, the icon looks like completely fine in light mode, because I have my Switch on light mode, and then my light on light mode rather, and then my regular Switch on dark mode, just because I thought that was funny. But yeah, it looks fine there. But in dark mode, it really stands out. But like the hub itself is honestly super useful. You can easily see basically everything related to Nintendo Switch Online. If you've got vouchers, it shows you just like plainly, like you've got this many vouchers left and here's all the games you can use them for, which is just so useful for me, because I often just like, whenever there's like an eShop credit sale at JB Hi-Fi or whatever, I always stock up and just like buy vouchers, because I know that I'm probably going to buy a bunch of Nintendo games. So being able to see how much I have left and what I can spend them on, it's very useful. And this is sort of like the kind of thing that like Nintendo's made a couple of these decisions where it's like, this really should have been like what they did from the beginning. And like separating out that Nintendo Switch Online from the eShop, which like the eShop is a nightmare to use even at the best of times. So taking all that information out and putting it somewhere system level where it's really easy to access, I think is just one of the best choices that Nintendo's made.
In my experience, it's still a little bit slow. Like it's still a little bit janky, kind of like the eShop.
Yeah.
Some things kind of take a little while to load in and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, this is the kind of thing that should have been there when Nintendo Switch Online went live. Like they should have had this hub there from day one. But I will point out one thing. There was a lot of discussion over the last sort of few days about the data analytics thing being turned back on for US switches.
Yeah.
That was in the version 11 firmware. We didn't have that in Australia because we are tied to the Europe, and there was it Gdpr. Yeah. There you go. That thing. Basically, it's a more comprehensive set of data privacy rules that we fall under because of Nintendo Europe managing our eShop. So we don't have that data thing being turned back on. So that's just one thing I saw a lot of people talking about that in the US. And it doesn't impact us
That's
here.
interesting. Yeah. How do you feel about this, Daniel?
I like how it has all the games, the retro games in year order. Just somebody likes retro gaming. That's kind of cool. Also, I didn't notice it says how long you've been a member for as well up on the top.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice
That's
little
cool.
touch as
Yeah.
well. And I agree too. When I've in my NES and SNES NSO apps, like I have them all organized by
Yeah.
date order. Just a little easier.
I think it could be a little bit better laid out. I guess of a lot of things, the Switch, it's not the best UI Nintendo's done. I still personally really like what they did with the 3DS, but it's not bad for what it is.
Well, the front screen UI is fine. It's just when you start getting into the detail, they seem to be a bit confused.
I want folders. I want themes. I want
Nobody wants folders or themes. Nobody wants.
I'm sorry to tell you this, Daniel, but it is Nintendo, and that means that once something has come out, that's how it stays. It is like that forever. You need a whole new generation of consoles to get folders.
like the 3DS still having the Miiverse icon, even though that thing's dead.
Yeah, 3DS was an absolute anomaly. That got
a week ago.
Yeah, 3DS is just so strange because that had all sorts of overhauls. That got themes, that got folders, and that got, Miiverse and all sorts of updates and things like that. So,
but then as soon as the Switch came out, it's like they just dropped it. And I'm like, are you going to leave the Miiverse icon there? Because it just doesn't do anything at all.
Yeah, you have to remember, though, it took Nintendo like 4 and a bit years to remove the Wii U TV icon from our Wii U's.
Yeah.
The feature never launched anywhere outside of the US.
But they never removed the button from my Wii U gamepad, though.
No, it can still be used as a...
Reggie should have come to my house and physically removed that button or put some sticky tape over it or something.
I thought the TV button was just so you could use it as a universal remote.
They updated it to be the direct thing to that in regions where the TV service didn't launch.
That's right, yeah.
I will say a bit of a hidden feature, not really hidden, it was in the patch notes, but like it's a bit of a niche feature that came with version 11 as well, is that you can opt to have your cloud save data automatically downloaded. So for someone like me, I switch between my home Switch and my Switch Lite all the time because, for various reasons. But it's always kind of a bit of a bitch to move the save data from one to the other. Because doing it, with the switches like local wireless is not great, and doing it over the cloud settings, it's like I don't really know if like it's uploaded properly. But now it just like it checks the save file on the Switch that you're currently using to see if that's newer or older than the one in the cloud. And if it's older than the one in the cloud, it'll just download the one in the cloud and put it on there. It's a really helpful feature if you've got multiple Switches, which I imagine is very few people, but for me, it's helpful.
That's great. Let's move on. Let's talk about Kadabra, the Pokemon Kadabra, making a return to the Pokemon trading card game after 17 years. So I didn't know anything about this story. I wasn't huge into Pokemon cards or anything. I did get a few booster packs and stuff back when they first came out, but I wasn't really into the TCG itself. But I was surprised to hear this story that illusionist Uri Geller has effectively let Nintendo print Kadabra cards again. So Uri Geller is a magician and illusionist who's popular in the 80s, I think it is, and has had a up and down kind of career since then in the business. But he attempted to sue Nintendo way back in the day for infringing on his likeness with the Pokemon Kadabra for bending spoons as part of his persona, and also even just the likeness in his name as well, and the way his name translates in Japanese, which I thought was kind of an interesting sort of point, because usually that's kind of like an Easter egg type thing or a little bit of a reference or a nod, but he kind of like took to litigation for that one. So in Japan, Kadabra is pronounced Youngala or something like that. And I'm probably butchering it because I don't speak Japanese. But apparently that's just too close for Mr. Geller, too close to his name, that he found it, good enough grounds to be able to sue on that point. So effectively, this is why the Pokemon hasn't been printed in the TCG since 2002. And apparently even to the point that, again, I didn't know this, that with the Abra card just can evolve straight to Alakazam because it just skips.
Yeah,
Kadabra.
so every Alakazam card since 2002 has had like a special ability that it can just evolve directly from Abra.
It's so funny.
Which
Skip high school, go straight to university. Easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, as of November 29, Geller has given his blessing via Twitter after a report by the website The Gamer, which kind of broke this story. So yeah, I'm going to open this up to you guys. You guys probably know a little bit more about this. Like I said, I don't know too much about the story.
Yeah, so basically in the year 2000, it's the height of Pokemon fever. Uri Geller sees this Pokemon that he believes to be based on him, and sort of by the sounds of it, he was not really happy with the fact that it was like an evil little gremlin guy. But most Pokemon are evil little gremlin guys. So, so he tried to sue Nintendo for £60 million. And
chump change.
This is
absolute chump change for Nintendo.
Yeah, but that's 20 years ago, so that's probably 40 million. I don't know. It's a lot of money. So yeah, basically since then, it's just sort of been ongoing litigation where neither party has agreed to really budge or take it further. So it was just sort of like a standstill. Like the Pokemon company was sort of not really caring that much, that like they only had one out of their now, almost 900 Pokemon that they couldn't put on a card. And Uri Geller just, I guess, didn't want to pursue it enough to take it to actual court. So it just sort of got stuck in that mediation phase and nobody budged. And here we are 20 years later, where Uri Geller takes to Twitter and says, this is fine. You can print as many cards as you like.
Well, so two things about that this whole story, after seeing it, totally explained to me now why Kadabra was such a big deal in collectors' circles, like why it was such a rare card and things like that. I didn't realize that personally until I saw this story, again, because I didn't really care about Pokemon cards. But then the other thing was that he didn't just say it's okay for Nintendo to print the cards. He took to Twitter and actually apologized. His tweet says, "I am truly sorry for what I did 20 years ago. Kids and grown-ups, I am releasing the ban. It's now all up to #Nintendo to bring my Kadabra Pokemon card back." So bring his Kadabra Pokemon card back. It will probably be one of the rarest cards now. Much energy and love to all. So I thought that was just really interesting that he just actually said, "I am truly sorry."
I wonder if it's that he sees that there's maybe a potential to maybe come to a licensing agreement or something, and he's.
I think probably what's more likely now is that Uri Geller is getting on a bit in age and has actually started caring a little bit about the legacy that he leaves behind.
He's actually like, "Screw you, Dad! You ruined my Pokemon trading card game career."
He's actually said in some interviews lately, it's like, it's not real magic. It was more just an illusion sort of thing.
Yeah, because
not real magic?
For such a long. Well, for a really long time, Uri Geller was like, this is actual like mental skills. Like, how dare you call this an illusion or whatever? So like he was pretty hard about like the fact that what he was doing was, paranormal stuff.
Even when he got full on called out on TV back in the 70s or 80s, and they proved no, this is fake what you're doing, he was still quite adamant about it. No, it's just the conditions of the day, and I couldn't do it then or something.
Yeah, look,
and,
I'll be honest.
We're not saying that it's real or fake because none of us want to get sued by Uri Geller. But yeah, it's just one of those things where like he seems to have softened a lot on some of the more hardline stances that he's had. So good thing for Pokemon fans who really like Kadabra.
Yeah, and I mean, like that whole the Abra line. That's probably one of the more popular lines from Gen 1 because in Gen 1, like, Alakazam was an absolute tank. And to sort of have this part of it be missing from, like the card game, the anime, I think there's been very little merch of it on there as well. It has sort of affected, a lot of what's being put out from Pokemon. So it's good to sort of hopefully be over that now and we can start seeing more of Kadabra.
I can go back to ignoring the Pokemon trading card game.
Yes.
Good stuff. All right, and lastly in the news, Nintendo is killing off one of Super Mario Maker's, like the original for Wii U, one of its most key fundamental functions on March 31st. So they're disabling the ability to upload new courses, which again is like part of the whole shtick of making levels in Super Mario Maker is that you're able to share them. But the game also will no longer be on sale on the Wii U's eShop from January 13. So it's an interesting date to be pulling that one there, not just like, bumping it back to March 31st, which seems to be Armageddon for a lot of Mario games, which is another thing that I want to come back to as well. Actually, no, let's just dive straight into that even. I mean, we'll throw Mario Maker into that. So like we've talked about over various different episodes, like March 31st seems to be the day where Nintendo was just beheading a whole bunch of Mario projects. We've got Super Mario Mario
Brothers 35. Yep.
Yeah, we've got that. Diddy, we've got this function in Super Mario Maker. We've got the All-Stars, 3D All-Stars getting taken off the market, and there's something else that I'm completely forgetting.
Fire Emblem,
the Game & Watch. The Game & Watch won't be sold after that date, but also Fire Emblem is also going away.
So yeah, it's not exclusively just Mario, but Mario is just featuring heavily on that day.
Super Mario, Mario getting.
Yeah, so 21 days after Mario Day is when Mario's getting the axe. So it's very interesting to see Nintendo taking
it's the end. It's the end of the business year for them, isn't it? So
so that's the thing. Like the reason this March 31 date keeps popping up is because it is the end of their financial year, and they basically just want to get everything squared away before they go into the next financial year. So like people, investors don't ask questions about why is this like this and all of that. So we will see that day pop up a few more times. I reckon. Probably not necessarily Mario related, but maybe if we hear Splatoon support is ending or something, I wouldn't be surprised if that was also on March 31st.
That's probably also the day that we find out that Breath of the Wild 2 is cancelled and Metroid Prime 4 is cancelled. I think everything that day.
No, I'm looking forward to the Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury being pulled on the 31st of March, all of 6 weeks after it released.
I keep forgetting that game's coming out.
It's just one of those things where it's because it ties to the Mario 35th, the year of Mario sort of thing. They're obviously just giving it a hard date to end the year when they choose rather than, just letting it run on, as Ollie said. But it's still funny that, we didn't really get anything Mario until mid-September anyway. So I don't know if you can call it a year of Mario if it's just under 6 months of length.
Is it also because March 31st is like the furthest or the closest they can get to like March 35th to sort of cash in on the whole like March, the 35th anniversary thing? I mean, they could just do it on April 4th, but
going back to the 6 month thing, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of this was meant to happen around E3 and just.
I could have seen them announcing a lot of it at E3. Yeah, no, but
even Mario 35, like Mario 35, I could have seen them launch. I know they wanted to do a direct. Back when we had those things, to sort of launch or show all this stuff off at the same time. And stuff like Mario 35, I could have seen that being shown at whatever the E3 Direct was going to be and then released just after that. But, and then a lot of this stuff stopped, the sales stopping of it brings in a lot of questions about like digital ownership rights and sort of all that. It's like, are you still going to be able to download these games after that date or...
I mean, thankfully, we do know that you can download them basically forever, as long as it's in your account. So, small victories.
And the other thing is, I could see like, I could see them actually breaking up the Super Mario All Stars games and selling them individually after the date.
A lot of people have been sort of speculating that that'd be the case. So
Mario 35. I could see them actually sort of maybe releasing a more fleshed out version of that, like Mario 99 or something.
Honestly, I could see them adding that as like a bonus mode in like whatever the next 2D Mario is.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's a good value. I mean, I know. I just still think as it is, it's a good value add to the Switch Online service.
I mean, they could easily cancel it and then bring it back with the Mario 3 theme or the Super Mario World theme. So there's a lot they could do with that core gameplay,
or even just incorporate it into Mario Maker.
Yeah.
As for Mario Maker going away, the Wii U one, that's going to be a lot. We're going to see a lot of that happening soon.
Well, so it's not going to affect the Mario Maker on 3DS, right?
No, because that didn't have upload capabilities anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was the... yeah, okay.
But
I forgot about that one.
So like the thing is, you will still be able to play previously uploaded courses for the foreseeable future. You'll still be able to do 100 Mario Challenge. You just won't be able to upload anything new or buy the game.
So you'll still at least be able to play the baby metal stuff. For Mario Maker.
It's because Nintendo's cutting off their subscriction to Google Drive. They're not going to upload the storage anymore. I think that's it.
Probably.
That's all you got.
It does remind me of when Disney Infinity went away. When they said they're cancelling that game, the servers remained up for about 6 months, I think it was, and then eventually they said, no, the servers are going away. So you can't upload anymore and you can't download levels. But those games, people are still making levels in Disney Infinity, years after the game was cancelled. Obviously, they're not sharing them, but they're still doing it. So people can still make levels in Mario Maker on Wii U. But I suppose it raises the question, who's still playing Mario Maker on Wii U? It didn't sell a bundle. The Wii U didn't sell a lot. So is it really impacting a lot of people?
Yeah, no. It's more my takeaway was just more that it's just another game added to that particular date.
There's also, there's stuff that you can do in Mario Maker for Wii U that you can't do on the Switch one, I guess, like the touchscreen interface, the whole mushroom costumes thing that they had wasn't in there.
Yeah, maybe Lanky Mario.
The Lanky Mario. Maybe the devs that had to support the Wii U version, maybe they'll now bring all that stuff to the Switch version. Who knows?
All right. Shall we talk a little bit about the Game Awards then? That's not on our run sheet, but someone wanted to have a quick chat about potentially what Nintendo might announce.
Yeah, so Game Awards are kicking off 11 a.m. Sydney time this Friday. It's coming Friday, the 11th of December, I think it is.
11th, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, whatever your time zone is when you're listening to it, work it out yourself. But the every year Nintendo has had sort of one big trailer or reveal in the Game Awards. Last year was Joker. Or was that the year before?
Joker was the year before.
The year before.
Okay, yeah.
But no, was it? Because the year before was when it came out, when Smash came out, 2018.
Yeah, no, so Joker was last year. Yeah.
Joker was the first.
No, because because we got a bunch of Smash releases last year, and then at the end of last year, Sakurai said, "Oh, you're going to do more after the next slot." The final release we got a Smash Pack 1 was Byleth earlier this year, and
that's
earlier last year was Joker after.
Yeah, so Joker was the first DLC character.
Yeah,
right.
The big reveal at the Game Awards was Joker. They announced Bayonetta 3. They showed that trailer off a couple of years ago at the Game Awards. So there's a fair chance that they're going to do something this year.
That's been MIA for a long time.
And that's what I think they're going to show. I think we're going to see an actual proper trailer for Bayonetta 3. Like, Platinum Games have been pretty quiet. They haven't been working on a lot themselves. The only thing they've done this year is the Wonderful 101 remaster, which that's discounted heavily at EB Games at the moment for Switch. So I can see them doing that, or maybe a trailer for the next Smash character.
I think their big reveal is going to be that on March 31st they're going to cancel Metroid and they're going to cancel Breath of the Wild 2.
I'm holding out hope for Metroid Prime Trilogy HD collection to get announced.
Well, I mean, that's been
good luck, bro.
That's all I want. I want to play Metroid Prime 2
day one. I'm sure it'll come eventually, but
that's coming with the new Nintendo Switch themes.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just looking at the awards to see what Nintendo's nominated for, and nothing I sort of see they could use as a segue into like a game announcement, like I think they have in the past when they were announcing like, oh, Zelda's won this award. Oh, and hey, look, here's the shadow drop for the new Zelda motorbike DLC.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. They could have a trailer for Breath of the Wild 2. They could have a big update for Animal Crossing. There's no limit on what they can do. That doesn't like the Bayonetta reveal. There wasn't any Bayonetta awards that year. They just revealed it, and I think afterwards they announced that 1 and 2 were coming to Switch the following February. So they could drop Pikmin 1 and 2 on the Switch as part of the Game Awards. Like there's no pattern that anyone can predict to show what they're going to do, but I think they will do something because they've done it every year so far. Nintendo's been involved with the Game Awards when it was just Jeff Keighley and Joel McHale in a loft somewhere.
I will say, if you are a Switch owner, there will be interesting announcements at the Game Awards. I can't say much more than that, but there are interesting announcements at the Game Awards, not necessarily from Nintendo. I don't know anything about that, but I know from a couple other companies there is some stuff getting announced that I think Switch owners will be quite happy about. But again, I can't really say much more than that.
I think
because I'll get sued.
I mean, in years past, we had like Marvel Ultimate Alliance got revealed. For it, or like Mortal Kombat 11 got unveiled, and then we also found out that it was coming out to the Switch as well.
So there have been some. There's a lot of stuff that might be revealed, and there's usually a couple of sales as well. Whether or not they hit our local shop, yet to be seen, but they do usually hit the US shop. So if you've got a US eShop account or some credit there, you might be able to pick up a game or two pretty cheap as well. So.
Pretty much any Nintendo game, any game on a Nintendo platform that's been nominated for an award will get like price drops. Like Hades will probably see something, or maybe
that was announced last year at the Game Awards. It was revealed that they were making that. So, and also Spider-Man and Wonder Woman are doing presentations. So,
yeah.
Well, speaking of video games, let's talk about Immortals Fenyx Rising coming out for the Nintendo Switch last week, because in case you didn't realize by that smooth segue, it is also a video game. So I have not played Immortals Fenyx Rising myself, but you chaps have. And Luke has also played it on different platforms as well, not just the Switch.
Yes.
So I just want to throw it out. I just want to ask the question from people who are, from my perspective, who haven't really gotten into the game yet. What is Immortals Fenyx Rising? And on the surface, what sets it apart from being another Breath of the Wild-like?
It has a Greek mythology theme.
Well, yeah, it is a Greek mythology game. I described it to my friend who was asking me about it as it's Assassin's Creed Odyssey without all of the things that make Assassin's Creed boring. I love Assassin's Creed, but like Odyssey was way too long and didn't really get into the Greek mythos good enough for me. But Immortals Fenyx Rising, it's just like, it does sort of have that sort of Breath of the Wild side kind of presentation. So you do have to explore, you do have to, manage your stamina and all of that. But sort of primarily it is just like, it's first and foremost a game about Greek mythology. So every single aspect of it, I said this in my preview article, every single aspect is sort of informed by Greek mythology. So like, you glide using Daedalus's wings, which is what Icarus used before he, got too close to the sun and then... Yeah. And then like, you've got the sword of Achilles, which he sort of famously lost before moving on to a spear in Greek mythology. There's just like I think the bow is also like one of the like Atalanta's bow. So like it's all of these, like every game mechanic is built upon some sort of aspect of Greek mythology. So while on the surface it does look like we've taken everything about Breath of the Wild and just made it Greek, they've really done a lot of research in order to make all these things fit and feel right in their game world.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely it is Breath of the Wild. If you go in thinking you can just get Breath of the Wild 2, it's not far off, but there's a lot of other things hidden under everything. Like when you look at the screen, you're gliding, you've got a stamina meter. You climb, you've got a stamina meter. Combat is pretty much the same. If you dodge perfectly, the action slows down so you can dish out some more attacks. Like everything is there. The enemies, as you progress in sort of through the game, the enemies level up in color, just like they do in Breath of the Wild. So everything that's core to Breath of the Wild is here, but everything else that they've added to it, it's not like Breath of the Wild and there's just the, bit sort of attached to the side with some string and silly putty. It's all woven into a cohesive game, and it does work. And as Ollie was saying, like, the fact that all the weapons are, it's not just a sword, it's Achilles' sword. It's not just the wings of Daedalus, because, otherwise there's no other flying instrument from that particular thing. and then you can get mounts that are like Pegasus, because the Pegasus was a big thing in Greek mythology. So yeah, in terms of building the world, Ubisoft have done an absolutely incredible job in bringing everything from Greek mythology back to the core of making it accessible.
That's interesting that you both talked to the fact that a lot of the items and stuff are baked in from Greek mythology, because to me, as someone who's been playing God of War, which I will come back to later on, the original God of War games, that's all throughout that game as well. Like, you've got in the third game, you cut off Hermes' feet and you use his boots to run real fast. You take someone's bow, I can't remember whose bow, maybe it's Athena's or something like that. You've got all these different sort of weapons and things that you take from other Greek gods and you use them in the game. So I think it's interesting that they went this sort of route here as well. But what about how the Switch version compares to, well, let's just talk about the Switch version itself. So how well does the game run? Does it run pretty well?
So it does. I was actually really surprised because I had very low expectations for the Switch version. I'm playing that for review, but I have seen like a bunch of footage from the next gen version. So it does run at half the frame rate. It is 30 frames a second, which won't be for a lot of people, but it maintains that 30 frames a second just so incredibly well. I don't think I've ever seen any significant frame drop at all. It looks pretty good. It doesn't look, great. In handheld, it's a bit fuzzy and something's off in the distance can be a little bit difficult to see, but it never looks bad, I think is the main thing. And when you're playing in docked mode, like you would be mistaken for thinking, you wouldn't be mistaken for thinking, this looks sort of like one of the early PS4 sort of third-party games. It doesn't look bad by any means, and like given that it's such a huge expansive world and like it is so consistently good looking, I think is a real testament to how much optimization they've done. And like this is the first Anvil Next game that's come to Switch. So we've had Anvil is the engine that Ubisoft uses for all their Assassin's Creed games, and I think another couple series as well. I can't remember exactly.
Was it used on Starlink?
Not as far as I know. That was using an older version of Anvil. So this is Anvil Next. This is like brand new engine. It's what they're using for Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Odyssey and all of those games. So they've clearly done a lot of optimization work to get that running smoothly on Switch, and it's a really good job. I will say that the draw distance is quite a bit shorter on Switch, but they've done a really clever thing by introducing sort of like a Silent Hill-esque fog, sort of where the draw distance starts getting murky. But because you're on this sort of like mythical, Greek mythology island, it's like this pink haze that sort of really fits in with the art style and makes it look like it was intentional rather than a limitation of the hardware. So it's a really good looking game, and it performs just about as well as it ever could on Switch.
When you say fog, are we talking Turok 64 level fog?
No, not dark
quite
grey. not the dark grey. Doesn't match anything in the world fog.
It's just sort of like a lightish pink mist that's sort of off in the distance. And yeah, it looks quite nice.
Yeah, and one of the other things too about the game is, if you just play through the story, it's maybe 15, 20 hours of just story stuff, because there's no leveling to sort of worry about in terms of your character. But if you do the side missions, there's puzzles throughout the world. There's sliding puzzles. There's, these astronomy puzzles where you got to go collect little like mini galaxies and dump them on a grid and to make up the constellation. There's vaults of Tartarus that are just everywhere. And some of them are just, to help you level up your stamina in the end, or, grab a new helmet or a new skin for your sword, so there's a lot of that sort of stuff. And they're not mandatory in any way, but they're still there, and there's still things you can do. Plus there's how much ambrosia and all that to collect in the world.
That's the same as Breath of the Wild, really. Like, you can finish that game in, I don't know, what's the current speed record for it? Like under an hour or something, easy. With a lot of open world games, it's about the fun you make as well as like the story.
Yeah, but I think like one of the things that I think for me sets Immortals apart from Breath of the Wild is that there's not really a whole lot of empty space in it. It's a densely packed world, so there's never really going to be a situation where you're running for 5 minutes and don't come across something interesting to do, or a bunch of enemies that you haven't seen before, or something guarding a chest or a sliding puzzle. It's really densely packed, and I think that really works in its favor as an open world game. Because one of the things that really fatigues you about open world games is that like you have to go to a particular area that you haven't been to before, so you can't fast travel there. And a lot of the scenery along the way is just set dressing. But Immortals Fenyx Rising doesn't really do that. There's no set dressing to speak of. It's every part of the world is filled with something interesting, and something to engage with.
Plus, there are countless sort of in-world boss battles to fight. Like you fight against a Chimera or the Nemean Lion, Cerberus. Things like that.
Really angry chicken.
Yeah. A lot of angry.
That was one of the things. Like I stumbled across like very early on in the game. I was like, had only 3 health chunks and barely any stamina, and I was just walking around, and then this like giant neon glowing blue chicken just charged at me and like almost one shot me. I was like, holy crap, what the hell is going on here?
I mean, that stuff like that's the best. One of the best things about open world games is it's like just you're playing Fallout 3 and walking into a area and there's a death claw there. Okay, no, running away. Or I think what's it, Xenoblade, the big spider
or
that
a Lionel
jumps out at you. Yes.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the game, you're at a point where you see a line and then you're like, oh yeah, it's go time. I can do this. and that's a lot of the fun with stuff like that.
Mm. All right,
and I will say that like I just want to say like quickly that like one of the things that is sort of different between Immortals and Breath of the Wild is that like your weapons don't break. There's no sort of weapon durability system, which like at its face you would think sort of not prevents, but like discourages you from swapping weapons and all of that. But that's not really something I've found to be much of an issue. All of the gear that you find has like unique skills that like can vastly change the way that you approach combat. So like whenever you get a new weapon, like it's always nice, or like a headpiece or a piece of armor, or a new skin for your bird even. You always like check to see what it does, and it's like does this fit in with the style that I play in?
There is a good thing though with all that is that if you find a particular piece of armor, like the helmet and the main body piece, and they give you like a benefit to a type of enemy, but then you find one that does like a really cool amount of damage if you're at full health, you can actually wear the one that does the cool damage, but make it look like the one, like you can customize it so you can have it looking like a completely different set of armor. Same with the weapons. So it can look one way, but has the effect of another. So you can actually customize the visual look of it, but it doesn't change the actual effects of it.
Yeah, so you can always look badass in cutscenes, but don't have to, suffer from crappy gear. It's a really good game.
All right, well, to start wrapping this up, because we are getting pressed for time now. Luke, if I could just throw one last question to you then. So as someone who's played over different consoles in that case, would you still recommend this for people on Switch, or would you recommend that they play it on a better console if they have, a more powerful console if they have that?
No, Switch is fine. The core gameplay doesn't necessarily require speed. It doesn't need the visuals for it, because the overall artistic style that Ubisoft went with works well on Switch. It holds up on all the platforms. So if you have a Switch, give it a go. If you have it on another platform, I know PS5 and Xbox Series X are a bit lacking on games at the moment. So if you want something new there, then sure. But Switch is definitely a very playable version and enjoyable.
Cool. All right. In that case, let's move on to games that we're playing. So who wants to go first? I'm happy to go later on.
Yeah, I'll go through mine quickly. Obviously, I've been playing a lot of Immortals. I've put like 30 hours into that, and I've only had it for like 6 days. So
wow,
it's a very addictive game. I've also been playing a little bit of Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. which I'm enjoying a lot. I like the more story focus because I really enjoyed the champions, what little you got to see of them in Breath of the Wild. So seeing more of them now is great. And I've been playing a bit of Digimon Cyber Sleuth because I can't help myself. And,
Such a good game.
I played it for review and I like 100% of it, and I'm still gonna go through and do that again. It's a great game.
Have you played the sequel?
Yep. I also reviewed that.
Okay. I finished the first one back on Vita back in the day, and I keep meaning to get to the second one.
They come in
Switch.
a double pack on Switch.
Yeah,
it regularly goes on sale. So yeah,
I've got them up there. I just need to get around to it because too many games.
Who's next?
I'll jump in. I've been playing some No Man's Sky because they updated that on the next gen consoles, so it just looks pretty and loads a hell of a lot faster. Finished off Immortals on Series X and been playing some Devil May Cry on the PS5. So sort of bouncing around on the new gen stuff for me.
Nice. And Daniel?
Nothing really. Well, newish, I guess, with the Fire Emblem. What's the full name of it? I forget.
Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light.
So I didn't get the collector's edition just because it didn't come with the game. But so I got the digital download. I probably maybe played like 5 minutes of it and went, yep, this is an old as heck strategy NES game. Bells and whistles and all. It does have like you can create checkpoints, which is cool, and speed up and go back a turn. But the problem with speeding up is it also speeds up the sound, and as someone who's a fan of sort of like, retro game music, it's like, no, this just hurts to even listen to. And, it's just a lot of the older UI stuff. When you select a character, the only way you can see what their movement range is you have to move the cursor as far as it can go. It doesn't show you like a flashing grid outline of where they can move to. So it's just lots of little things that I guess we take for granted now that it doesn't do. Other than that, just, Pokemon Go. There's been lots of new stuff added to that. They just added the Gen 6 stuff and level 5 upgrades for everyone, and constant non-stop events where if you're lucky, you might find a shiny Pokemon. But yeah, other than that, nothing else really.
Okay. Actually, Luke, I'll give you 30 seconds. Would you be able to just give us a quick rundown about the collector's edition for Fire Emblem, which you picked up? Because I know a lot of people wouldn't have been able to get that.
Yes. So in the Giant Ass Collection collector's box, there is a massive art book, which is something Nintendo have done a few times in the past, and it's not that great. This one is really, really detailed. There is, if the Fire Emblem characters have appeared in a game, there's artwork from that game in this book, including Codename's name. It also comes with a replica of the map, replica of the game instruction manual, an old school Nintendo Power poster. And the reason that I wanted it in the first place was it's an acrylic NES game card, which is a bit thicker than the actual NES cartridges. But it's got the artwork in it and everything. So it's one of those things where you wouldn't really buy it unless you wanted something in it, because it's $90 as opposed to the game's $9 price tag on the eShop. So
yeah, I'm not a huge fan of collector's editions if they have like toys and statues and things like that, but I am a sucker for a good art book. And when you showed us some a couple of pages from it before the show started, I actually got a little bit jealous about that. I do like good art books. Yeah. And games that I've been playing for the last couple of weeks, a whole lot of Fortnite, just trying to get as far as possible as I could in Chapter 2, Season 4. And I got to level 97, and because I was just playing it as much as I could the day before just to get a couple more levels up, trying to get to level 100 so I could finally get the Iron Man Tony Stark variant skin. And I got to level 97 and went to bed. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get up real early the next morning and do it. Got up, started playing. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to level up enough. I'll just pay the extra V-Bucks because I had some V-Bucks left over from the season. So I'll just transfer those in and try to get level 100 so I can get the challenges to then quickly get the outfit. As soon as I'd paid my V-Bucks though, it was about 45 minutes before the end of the season event started. And at that point, they just cut off all games. No one can start a new game. So I couldn't actually get into a match and do the challenges. So I essentially just blew 450 V-Bucks into the wind for no reason. And I was so mad with myself because I'd collected every other skin just unique skin, not the the different color, like the gold and silver skins that you get post level 100. But I had every other character and their variants, and I was just so mad that I didn't get that. But then later on that day, I jumped into Season 5 and got the Battle Pass for that, and I'm working my way through that anyway. I'm a sucker for skins. I do like skins in those games. But apart from that, I've been playing a little bit of God of War still. We've gotten up to God of War 3. My girlfriend and I are going through the series, mostly because I want to be able to play the new God of War again. And I wanted to take her along for the journey because she's never really seen them. But yeah, I'm up to God of War 3 now. And I don't know, man. Like, I like violence, but this game just has some sweet, sweet violence in it. It just speaks to me on such a concerning level sometimes, how I just love watching gods just get messed up. It's good fun. But I've also been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is, I don't know, I'm finding it harder to get into than Odyssey. It's a lot slower, I think. I do like that it's a little more grounded in its world building. Odyssey, it was just it was great, but it was a little too unbelievable. It was a bit too fantastical. It was a bit silly as well, but this one takes itself really quite seriously. And it's a little more grounded, which I'm sort of appreciating, but everything just takes too long now to do in those games. Ever since Origins, everything takes forever. Oh well, just
getting back to the Fortnite and God of War thing.
Mm-hmm.
Are you have you unlocked Kratos in Fortnite yet?
No, because you have to purchase 2,000. You have to spend 2,000 V-Bucks or something like that to get that skin. So it's not an unlockable tier in the Battle Pass, which is really annoying. I thought it might be, or maybe you have to do a certain set of quests or something like that. But nah, you just have to buy it. Just
sort of blows my mind you'll be able to play as Kratos on a Nintendo system.
Yeah, and for 2,000, I think it's 2,200 V-Bucks. I think that's $30 Australian, and I'm not spending $30 on a skin. I've only bought one Battle Pass, and that was a year ago. And since then, I've just earned enough V-Bucks through the Battle Passes consistently since then to be able to pay for the next Battle Pass. Because I am cheap. All right, getting into the Fortnight Forecast. So between today, December 6th. Oof, what am I doing? Between November 6th and did it again. Today, between December 6th and December 20th, which will be roughly around the time the next episode comes out. On December 7th, we have Drawn to Life 2 Realms coming to the Switch. On December 8th, we've got Doom Eternal finally coming out on Switch. Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, and both Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisps get their physical releases on December 8th as well. And then December 15, we have the collection of Saga Final Fantasy Legend coming too. So it only took 9 months, but Doom Eternal is finally coming out to Switch around the same time that it is also part of Game Pass on PC and Xbox. So, oh well. I'm sure
more than a year later than initially dated, because it was supposed to be November 20 last year.
Yeah, there we go. But, better late than never, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, here we go. I want to get into our new segment. So, for those who have listened to other video game podcasts, or at least played 20 questions before, we're going to be doing Nintendo 20 questions. So the gimmick here is that it will only be Nintendo games across the history of Nintendo. I will avoid choosing games that are too obscure because obviously we want our cast to be able to get the game so that way the success is much sweeter. We don't want to go too easy though, otherwise that's just not really as interesting for anyone. But we'll see how we go this week. So as of now, here we go, Nintendo 20 questions. So who wants to go first?
I've got one, if everyone's okay.
Go. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Did the game originally come out on a Nintendo home console?
Yes.
Okay. Is it a game with a primary protagonist?
No.
Okay.
Was this game made by Nintendo?
Yes.
Was this game released before the year 2000?
Yes.
So we're looking Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo, or original Nintendo?
Or NES?
Okay.
Or Virtual Boy.
No, that wasn't a home console. I wouldn't call that a home console.
Well, you certainly couldn't use it outside of the home.
Couldn't use it inside of the home either. Let's be accurate here. Okay. So no primary protagonist. So that sort of rules out the Zeldas and the Marios. I mean, my first thought would be Mario Kart, because that's not a primary character-driven game, like single character.
Yeah.
Was this released on the Super Nintendo?
Yes.
Okay. I'm trying to think of like other Super Nintendo games that could fit the bill now.
Stunt Racer FX.
Tetris Attack.
All right. Is it a puzzle game?
No.
Okay. It's not Tetris Attack then.
Or Panel to Pon.
Let's see.
Does it take place within the Mario universe?
Yes.
Oh, that was a long pause. Oh.
I mean, we could ask if it had Super in the name, but that was about every Nintendo game at that time.
Can I ask a sort of specific question, if everyone...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's made by Nintendo, and it made its debut on this. It's on the Super NES, but is it based on a non-Nintendo franchise?
No.
Okay, that rules out SimCity.
Okay.
I mean, I suppose technically you'd be the primary protagonist in that game anyway, as the mayor.
True.
Is this game an entry in a long-running series?
Yes.
Cool. So that rules out sort of one-off titles.
Okay. Does this game have an entry on the Switch?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that rules out F-Zero.
Yeah, and that's also, not... I mean, I suppose Stunt Race FX kind of counts because it's on the NSO.
Well, it rules out Pilot Wings, Stunt Race, F-Zero.
Yeah.
See, I'm sort of...
Pilot Wings.
I'm leaning towards...
Everyone does.
Mario Kart here, because I don't really see much else it could be. Was there like a tennis game?
No, the sports games did
on
the
Super
64.
Okay.
I mean, I'm thinking he's gone easy on us on the first one and given us Mario Kart, but here's one. Is Donkey Kong Jr. a playable character in this game?
Let me just check that one actually. Yes.
Cool. And yes, folks, it was Donkey Kong Jr. because they needed to differentiate the character outline, so they put a shirt on him and it made him Donkey Kong Jr., not the original Donkey Kong. I mean, Donkey Kong Jr. was only in a few games on the Super Nintendo, so I'm pretty sure we have it.
I'm thinking we have to make our guess. What's the actual official title of the Mario game? The Mario Kart game.
Just Super Mario Kart.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna make our guess, Angelo.
Okay.
Is the game Super Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo?
Yes, it is Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo.
Yay!
All right.
Very good. Very good. We could do another one.
I knew that.
I have another game in my head if we want to do another one, if that want to be quick.
No, because this one we won't be quick on, I guarantee it.
We're at like 59 minutes already. So.
I'll save that one then, because I think that would be a very good one. That will tear your hair out, I think. All right, Super Mario Kart. Congratulations. Very good. Got it in 11 questions, or 12 if you count the guess. But yeah, it was very good sleuthing, actually. Asking if there was a central protagonist. That was a very good question. And
that was the question that came up beforehand, because I was like, it could either be Mario Kart or like Smash Brothers or something like that.
Yeah, and saying, is it set in the Mario universe? In my head, I'm like, oh, this one, yes, it is, but there's also Donkey Kong Jr. in there. Then I was thinking about more contemporary ones, which aren't necessarily set in the Mario universe themselves. So that's why I kind of paused. I'm like, oh, how do I? Yes. And then I wasn't sure if Donkey Kong Jr. was in there after all. Let's finish up there then. So that about wraps up this week's Vookcast. Be sure to visit the site www.vooks.net for all your Nintendo news, reviews, and everything in between. To keep up to date, follow the site on Twitter at vooks.net, all spelled out, or jump over on our Discord at bit.ly/vooksdiscord. Ollie, where can people find you online?
You can find me either in said Discord, I'm there pretty much all the time, or on Twitter, which is @Chocobalt, CHOCOBALT.
What about you, Luke?
You can find me almost everywhere at RenderMan7, or you can find me over on MaxiGeek.
And what about you, Daniel?
Twitter @WorthNintendo. I think that's sort of about it, really.
Cool. And you can find me on Twitter @Mangello with a 0 at the end. And also over on Twitch @Mangello Show. No zeros in that one. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.